RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition and Liquid Sunrays. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, life in general, whatever it is on your mind, it is all on the table. We are recording this on Tuesday. If you're watching this right now, chances are I am on an airplane flying across country to Las Vegas for the 2018 Mr. Olympia competition, and that's where we lead off. Dave, we are just 2 days away from kicking off our coverage of the 2018 Mr. Olympia weekend. That, and to celebrate our very own Natasha Coleman, Species Nutrition Elite Athlete, we are holding a special sale at speciesnutrition.com.
Yeah, we got to do something for the Olympia, right? And I know everyone loves the Isolyze, and we had a really successful sale a couple of weeks ago we did on some products, and we sold a lot of them, and people were very excited that we gave such a good discount. So I said, you know what? It's not Labor Day, but the Olympia seems to be a little more relevant to the bodybuilding world, so we're going to give another great discount on some new flavors, on some different flavors, I should say. And it's going to be, I think we're doing 35% off, is it?
Correct. So 35% off. Isolyze cookies and cream, that's 44 serving. Vanilla peanut butter, 22 and 44 serving. Chocolate milk, 22 serving. And caramel macchiato, 44 serving. All that is listed at the website.
Now, I want to say something. I got to tell you, vanilla peanut butter is my favorite flavor because I'm not really a chocolate guy. Like, I like chocolate, but I don't love chocolate. I like vanilla better. So vanilla peanut butter is my favorite. But caramel macchiato, which is probably the one flavor that people don't realize how good it tastes until they actually taste it. So you might want to try that if you haven't tried any of the newer flavors. It has like a coffee tinge to it with the vanilla. It's really creamy. It's you'll never believe in a million years that it's like no carbs in it. It's probably one of the sleeper flavors of the Isolyze line. And I want to wish Natasha super good luck. Obviously, we're going to be interviewing her at the Meet the Olympians. We're super proud of her, what she's accomplished this year. I mean, when I think bikini, I love her physique. I just say, this is what bikini is all about. She's got athleticism, she's got conditioning, but she's not too big. She's attractive. She's got the great balance of everything in that division. And probably 5 years ago, she probably would have been terribly placing in bikini because they had different criteria. The girls are smaller and softer. Now they're looking for a more athletic look, and she really shines in that division. So we're going to wish her the best of luck.
So again, check out the sale at speciesnutrition.com. And of course, keep an eye out for Natasha Coleman as she steps on the Bikini Olympia stage. Let's go to the first two questions from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, Dave, total speculation, but who do you think in the open class and or 212 takes the largest amounts of gear? This is based off rumors, your gut feeling.
I'd say the last place guy probably takes the most gear. Because think about it, they're probably the least genetically blessed, right? or they dieted the least, and they figured I got to take the most drugs. That's my speculation.
All right. Next question. Last time, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app, last time we saw Dexter on stage, his arm looked a little like muffin-like, in quotes. What is the inside scoop, and do you think he has any shot at the top 3 this year?
Yeah, I don't know. It might have been a slight injury. He might have torn a little bit of it. Sometimes just because you have a swollen bicep or delt or pec doesn't mean you tore the whole muscle. I think he tore a couple fibers in there. That's really what I believe. I don't think he had it jimmied up or anything by any means. I don't think that's what happened. I think he actually pulled some fibers, and that's why there was a lot of swelling in the arm. Because usually when you take diuretics and you water restrict, that swelling will go away if it's like minor. But if you have like an injury, a lot of times it's hard to get rid of that blur, so to speak. And I think that's what happened to Dexter. I think this year it won't even be a factor. I think it'll be perfect because I've seen pictures of him off season. I haven't seen anything wrong with it. I think he just had a bout of bad luck. And when that happens, it screws you up mentally, and sometimes it affect your whole body. I just don't think Dexter was at his best last year. I think he's going to be way better this year. He certainly has a shot at top 3. Once again, Dexter's always standing there, waiting. He's like an ambush predator. Like in the snake world, there's snakes that just kind of lay in the leaves and they don't move until something walks by and then they grab them. That's Dexter. He just waits till people screw up and he's there and then he exploits that situation and that's how he wins shows. So don't be surprised if Dexter wins the weekend. You know what I mean? If a couple people came in off, including Phil Heath, Dexter could win. That's how dangerous he is. Do I think he's going to be top 3? I think that he's certainly going to be top 4 or 5. We don't know how everyone else is going to look. But anywhere in that top 5 for Dexter is a win in my book. At his age and what he's been accomplishing, absolute win.
Let's go to our Instagram questions. Again, our Instagram handle is official_RxMuscle. If you're not already following us, follow us. We will be with our live stories, all sorts of photos from the interviews, everything that we're going to be doing this weekend, we're going to be documenting on our Instagram handle, so you're not going to want to miss out on that. Let's go to Mo Muscles. Now, this is a question that we've gotten fairly often over the last couple of weeks. Why is the Olympia permanently fixed in Vegas? Why isn't it like it used to be where it was on a revolving basis in different cities around the world?
It's a good question. I don't know. I guess the most people, like, at least they feel they can make the most money in the United States. I think in years past what they did was they bidded it out. So in other words, if you wanted to hold it in Germany, then you have to pay a certain fee to the Olympia people. Maybe the Olympia people feel that, hey, now that we have an expo, because they never had a huge expo back in the day, there's more money to be made. So that's really the cash cow. It's not the show. The show probably doesn't make money at all, or not a lot, because remember, you got to give out a lot of prize money. So the expo is what sells the vendors and what the advertisers on getting involved. So I think that it's become like more of a destination now type of event, as opposed to a traveling event. I would like to see. It would be cool if there was one show out of the year which had the same title that did travel. That would be kind of cool, But I think what happens is it's such a pain in the neck to set up the venues and flights and hotels and make everything convenient that it's better if you can do it in the same location every year, because you can keep perfecting the process. Whereas if you're always moving around, you're always like on your feet trying to figure out things, internet, this, that, Wi-Fi. It could be a nightmare. So I don't mind it being in the same place, but I would like to see a couple shows that become annual events that do move around. I think that would be better. And just for clarification, Sid, when we take all the footage when we're out in Vegas, I got to tell you, I hate it. It's a nightmare. People love to see all the coverage we do, but it really is. It's like every minute of the day we have to document. And sometimes I just want downtime and I just want to just think and be quiet, and it's like, I realize we can't do that because everyone is at home waiting to see what's going on. So we have to constantly be aware of that and start documenting what it is and filming it, and then we have to worry about editing it. That's why a lot of times we do live type streaming stuff from Facebook or Instagram, because it's just a little easier,
So again, follow us on Instagram, official_RxMuscle, and of course, our YouTube channel where we're going to have all our wrap-up videos. We're going to have our Scene Setter Wednesday night, our wrap-up the Olympia press conference on Thursday, and then everything in between. Let's go to prime time.
Hey, Sid, maybe what we should do is we should do some, maybe we should just do some random footage shooting, and we'll just upload directly to the YouTube channel. We won't even edit. We're going to just do some raw type stuff throughout the weekend that might be goofy or funny, or maybe I see like Jay Cutler tap dancing or something like that at the Orleans. I'll just film it. I'm just going to put it up. Forget it. We're not going to put it on. We're going to go right to YouTube. I'm uploading raw footage this weekend, so I don't want to hear any. No one's going to have titles on it. There's going to be certain stuff that we just decide. Hey, you know what? We're uploading this because we want you guys at home to be able to watch it instantaneously. The quick stuff under a minute we'll put on Instagram, but if we have like some funny videos we want to do, I want you guys to see exactly what we're doing in real time. It's going right up to YouTube.
So there you have it again. More incentive to follow us on Instagram and, of course, our YouTube channel. Let's go to prime time. With your influence in the bodybuilding world, can you make a push to have classic physique incorporate more poses and lose the weight limit? Just judge a person down if they don't have the classic look, line, symmetry, etc., instead of limiting the guys by weight. I mean, come on, even physique guys have no weight cap.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the problem, though, because what happens if you don't have a limit on it, it creeps up and up and up and up, and before you know it, classic is basically bodybuilding. So you got to have that limit. As a matter of fact, I think the weight limit is too high, to be honest with you right now. I think it should be lower because they raised it a few times already. I think it's a huge mistake if you let these guys get too big. You have to. Matter of fact, I think women's physique should be the same thing. For your height, you should be restricted. Why? I don't understand why it's any different. Basically, women's bodybuilding was replaced by women's physique. If you're saying it's not, and there's still two categories, the women's physique should have the same cap that the men do. For your height, you should only be able to weigh a certain amount because the girls are getting too big. I think that's the problem, and I think that'll be exactly what happens in Classic. You'll turn it into another bodybuilding division, and there'll be no criteria. So you definitely need that weight restriction.
Let's go to Noah the Fox. Good one here. If you were to put every athlete who's ever been on the Olympia stage together at their absolute peak best, would Ronnie Coleman win? And in your opinion, who would be top 3?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to figure out. First of all, you got to pick the guys in their best. So when was Ronnie his best? Some people would say 98, 99. Some people would say 03. I like the 03 Ronnie because he was enormous. He was like 290, 292 or something like that on stage. You know, I think Ronnie's the best. I think Dorian might be second, to be honest with you. I think he was that. And the 93 Dorian, it's funny, the 03 Ronnie and the 93 Dorian, I think were the best too. At least in my opinion, you know, that which doesn't mean a hill of beans. Who would be third? Good question. Probably wouldn't even be another Olympia champ. It might be, because I don't think Haney's the third best guy. You might have like a Flex Wheeler or something like that be the third best, or a Levrone or something like that. You know, I don't know if Jay Cutler at his best would be third best. Maybe the 01 Jay Cutler would be up there, top 3. He was pretty freaky, you know. Maybe one of the Phil Heath renditions. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that, but possibly. The top 2 would definitely be Ronnie and Dorian in my book, 03 and 93. Who the next person is questionable. It could be the 98, you know, or 99 Flex Wheeler, who placed second to Ronnie, because those were some pretty intense years, you know, and those guys were so close. If Ronnie wasn't there, Flex would have been Mr. Olympia 10 years in a row. So it's hard to tell, you know. It's hard to tell. And like I said, you got to say, is Jay Cutler at his best better than Flex at his best? And I don't know. I don't think we've ever seen a Flex later in his career at his best. Even in 98, 99, he was really good, but he wasn't his absolute, you know, Krispy Kreme best. It's a difficult thing to do because unless you see, bodybuilding is all about comparing guys next to each other. You know, you look at certain guys in pictures, you're like, this guy's Mr. Olympia. You put him in the lineup and he comes in 5th place. So once again, unless we saw Dorian standing next to Ronnie at their absolute best, who knows?
Let's go to Andreas94 Appel. How often do you change your rep range and exercises to avoid plateaus?
Well, I used to do it when I would feel stale. In other words, if I come into the gym and I'm like, I just bench pressed 405 for, you know, 8 reps, you know, 4 weeks in a row, and I really want to do it again? Then I know I got to change something around. You know, that's how you do it. When you start making really good progress week to week to week, and you say, you know what, I've had like 6 good weeks of increasing weight. Maybe I should do something a little different this week. You know, give my body a rest. That's what you usually do. Training's got to be very instinctual. The exercises don't change. Look, if you want mass on your legs, you squat. If you want mass on your back, you do bent rows. Okay? If you want to increase strength and power and thickness in your back, you do deadlifts, right? So these exercises are not going to change, but you don't have to do them every single week either. So some weeks you might say, you know what, instead of starting with squats, I'm going to start with leg extensions. Or instead of starting with bench press, I'm going to start with the pec deck. Change it around, but don't abandon the basic movements and heavy weights, which is what builds muscle.
You're watching Ask Steve on RxMuscle.com. Again, a reminder right now, SpecyNutrition.com, in honor of Natasha Coleman going to the Miss Bikini Olympia. We are offering 35% off select sizes and flavors of Isolized good through Sunday night. Let's go to Aaron Hood. Would it be good to drink coconut water on show day instead of water for electrolytes, especially if you're taking a diuretic?
Well, seeing that I don't have anyone drinking any water or anything on contest day, the answer would probably be no. After the show, yeah, I think coconut water would be great to help rehydrate. The fluid I give on it, let's say the contest is all the same day, prejudging in the morning, you know, finals at night. the only fluids I would give my competitors would be in the middle between pre-judging and night show. I usually give about 8 ounces of fluid with another half a diuretic, usually with a burger and fries meal after pre-judging. That's it. That's just to replace what they lost from pre-judging essentially. And then the diuretic is to flush out any extra stuff because I usually give them a lot of salty, greasy, meal with the burger and fries. So I would not be drinking coconut water all day long at the show. No.
Ashley Burns, at what doses of GH do you have to use insulin as it makes you insensitive, right?
Well, you just answered your own question. You only need to use insulin if you become insulin resistant, meaning that your blood sugars start running high. So, I help a lot of guys out, and my new thing is I always tell people to go get a blood sugar monitor. They're really cheap. You can get them at Walmart for $9, $9 for the test strips, and you're good to go. And if you're running high fasting morning blood sugars, fasting blood sugars in the morning, if they're over 90 consistently, like some guys are running 100, 105, 110, that's too high. That means that the GH is making you insulin resistant, which means you probably need to take some sort of a long-acting insulin, to help you. If you're fine in the morning, but you're running high after meals, let's say eat a big meal, one of your meals during the day, 2 hours after the meal's over, you take your blood sugar and you're over 130 still. Okay, you should be under 130. That means your blood sugar control is not good during the day, which is usually not the case. It's usually the morning ones that are no good, but if that's the case, then you need a fast-acting insulin. You need to take a little Humalog or Humulin R with your meals to help you, maybe because your meals are so big, because you need that much nutrition in your diet because you have a fast metabolism or you're trying to grow. And that's when you would take a faster acting insulin. So there's different reasons. Usually most athletes that I do recommend insulin for, it's without even knowing their blood sugars. I'm assuming their blood sugar control is good, but I'm necessarily telling them to take GH. They're eating a ton of food. I know they're going to have trouble with absorbing all those carbohydrate calories. Therefore, I recommend a Humulin R 2 doses a day. Once again, if people have been using GH for years and they're running high blood sugars in the morning, different story. We use a long-acting insulin for that because that's going to help with blood sugar control all the time. And that's really how insulin works. You don't just knee-jerk use insulin unless you need it. A lot of guys do need it because when they take GH and they eat a lot of food, they need help getting that food absorbed. And that's what insulin's about. People don't take insulin because it builds muscle. I said this before, and people can argue with me all they want. Insulin doesn't build muscle. It helps facilitate the building of muscle by enabling nutrition to get into the muscle cells, okay? And that's only the case when you have either an enormous amount of food being consumed and you're overwhelming your body's insulin supply, or you're taking GH, which is adding further stress to the pancreas to have to try to absorb these calories. So that's the scoop on insulin. That's the reality of insulin.
Let's go to Lee Pickering 84. Dave, do you count the calories in supplements when trying to lose body fat?
And I don't know what he means by in supplements, like in protein powders. I mean, I don't really know what he means. Yeah, everything's counted, but you know what? I don't like if I'm telling someone to take a whey protein isolate, as a shake with a tablespoon of all natural peanut butter. I've calculated everything in there. Now, I didn't calculate for the person who's using a cheap protein that has 6 grams of carbs in it. Okay, that's not acceptable. So if someone says to me, hey, can I use this protein? No, I asked you to use a whey isolate. It shouldn't have more than 1 gram or 2 of carbs. If it does, then you're using either something that has added stuff in it, or you're using a really crappy source of whey isolate, meaning that the company used a cheap source of it. So that in that case, you need to get a better brand. So yeah. I mean, assuming that you're using what I'm recommending or what your coach is recommending, you don't have to calculate the extra stuff. But if you're using something that's cheap and it has padded stuff in there and it's adding more calories to the equation, then that's no good. That could definitely sabotage your diet.
Kyle Joel 92, how can you maintain a smaller waist when in off season trying to pack on size? What is one exercise that you would recommend to bring up legs? So I guess there are 2 questions. The first one, maintaining a smaller waist when in off season trying to pack on size, and then if you recommend an exercise as he's trying to bring up his legs.
Look, some guys just genetically have a small waist. Take Flex Wheeler. I mentioned him before. This guy had to eat an enormous amount of food to put on muscle because he's a small frame guy. And he did. He put an enormous amount of muscle on over the course of his career. But his waist was always small. And he didn't do anything special. He didn't saran wrap his waist. He just, luckily, genetically had a small waist. Other guys who don't, their waist gets bigger. That's the sad truth of it. Now, I do believe when you eat a tremendous amount of food, it can certainly stretch out your midsection. I believe that's what happened to me. I had to eat so much food on a regular basis that my stomach was always gorged with food. And that definitely stretched, I think, out a lot of the fascia there, which maybe made it a little looser and made me have to be much more conscious of my waistline. When you're young and you're like in your early 20s, your waist just is naturally sucked in. As time goes on and everything gets stretched out, it kind of starts hanging a little bit more. And then you have to be more conscious about pulling it in. So the bottom line is that there's nothing you can really do other than not eat a lot of food. I know guys that just are not big eaters, bodybuilders, and they have good waistlines. The problem is they just can't add size because they don't eat enough food. So it's a catch-22. Do you want to put the muscle on or do you want to keep a small waist? You know, sometimes you can do both, but in certain cases, you know, you can't. And that's just life, man.
Here is one that you probably did not expect to answer today. It's from Jeremiah Kennedy 700. Bodybuilding and cocaine using during prep for a show any negative effect of progress other than the known addiction risk and appetite depression. Is there a risk of inflammation or lack of recovery during a stressful prep?
Well, I mean, if you're using cocaine, you're probably not sleeping very much. So that's obviously, the rest aspect is not good. It's exhausting the neurotransmitters in your body, which is not going to allow you also not to rest properly. Those neurotransmitters are what enable the muscle cells and to talk to the nerves, and the nerves to talk to the muscles. You know, any kind of massive stimulant like that is just not good for the system. You're trying to tell your body, concentrate and focus all your efforts, body, on building and repairing muscle. And then you're giving it other things that are speeding it up and making, stimulating other systems in the body that have nothing to do with building muscle. Matter of fact, they have a lot to do with breaking down muscle tissue. So, yeah, regular cocaine usage is not going to be conducive to building muscle. Just like people who are on massive amounts of stimulants all the time probably are not going to be very efficient at maximizing muscle building as well. And that's why there's got to be a balance between everything that you do. If you're going to use some stimulants, you can use them around the workout time. If you need a cup of coffee in the morning, fine. But if you're down in energy drinks and popping all kinds of pills all day long, not the best for building and repairing muscle. Oh, and then legs. The leg question is, look, I've said it a million times. Squats. If you want to build legs, you got to squat. You need full range, okay, ass to your heels, maybe not that low, but close. Squats. I like wide stance, toes forward, opening those knees up, getting those adductors involved, and really full range of motion. That's what builds muscle. I always tell people, if you want to build legs, go to the gym and do 10 sets of squats and leave. That's it. That's all you need. That's really all you need if you give 100% to those 10 sets. Squat encompasses every single muscle group, and it doesn't matter if you had no other exercises, you can have great legs just from squatting.
ZT Center is a question that we do get time to time. It's been a while. Diet soda on prep, is it okay to use it? Should it be cut out at certain times?
I lived on diet soda. Matter of fact, I would drink so much diet soda that I couldn't stop peeing all the time. And a lot of times I would just sit on the toilet and just stay there because it was easier than getting up and going down. And getting up and going down. The last 3-4 weeks of contest prep are miserable. If you're lean and you're really dieting hard, everyone out there who's probably listening to this is probably like, oh, he knows. Yeah, of course I know. I've done it a million times. You feel miserable. You'll do anything to take that discomfort away. And diet soda to a certain degree works. After a while, when you're starving and you drink enough diet soda, it doesn't even taste good anymore. It's almost like, oh, just get this away from me. It's not even doing anything. It's not even getting rid of my appetite. And all it's doing is making me have to freaking pee 400 times a day. So it's like there's no escape from feeling terrible. And if you feel like that, you're probably on the right road to looking your best on stage. And luckily, it only lasts a couple weeks. But those last 2 to 3 weeks that you feel like that is terrible. If you can drink diet soda, is not a problem. Now, some people, for some reason, when they drink diet soda, they don't lose weight. I don't know what it is. It really shouldn't do anything for you. But if you find that you're having trouble losing weight and you're being super strict on everything else you're doing, I would eliminate the diet soda and go to water. And maybe that'll make it better for you. Some people just might have adverse reactions to it. I don't know. there is some speculation that it could cause a little insulin release. Sometimes when I would drink excessive amounts of it, I would get a little low blood sugar. Now, is that because I was even just the small amount that I was getting of that, and I was tricking my body? In other words, because I was drinking so much of it, I was tricking my body to releasing insulin, which was dropping my blood sugar. It's possible. It's possible. But I don't think it's going to sabotage the diet. If anything, it's going to give you the tools to be able to deal with the diet a little better, because at least you can drink something that tastes good.
Time for a couple of more questions. Vinny, Anthony, Dave, what are your experiences with Prima Bowling? A lot of people say you have to run it at fairly high doses. Is that the case?
Back in the day, we used 200 to 300 milligrams a week, max, and I felt results from it. So I know today, if you don't use 600 milligrams or something, people think it doesn't, you're not even using it. But I felt really good results with sharing Prima Bowl. And back in the day, 100 milligrams 2 to 3 times a week. I would use it usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the last 6 weeks for a show. And I liked it. I felt great on it.
Last question, this one from Shola Aesthetics. Can you explain your nutrition more in depth as an ectomorph when you competed to put on so much quality mass?
I had to eat an enormous amount of food. As a matter of fact, at one point, I was, trying to put size on in the initial stages of my bodybuilding, and I was worried about getting fat because I had been a runner, a long-distance runner, and I stopped running, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get fat. I can't believe how many times I'm eating. I was only eating like twice a day as a runner, running 10, 12 miles a day, and I was staying lean, but I'm like, I'm going to get fat. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, every time I add more food, I seem to put more muscle on. I'm going to try to get fat. I'm going to eat as much as I physically can get down on a daily basis, and I will see if I get fat. If I get fat, I'll back off. Never got fat. So that's how fast my metabolism was. So I needed to eat as much as I can get down. And that usually started out at 6 meals a day. It went to 8, it went to 10. Eventually, at the peak of my career, I was eating 12 times a day. I think it was like 6 shakes, 6 meals, or 7 shakes and 4 meals. I don't know, even 5 meals. I don't remember exactly what the breakdown was, but I was forcing myself to eat because I knew that was what it was going to take to put the mass that I wanted on.
That is going to do for this episode of Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition and Liquid Sunrays. Reminder, right now, Olympia weekend sale at speciesnutrition.com, 35% off select flavors and sizes of Isolives. We will see you in Las Vegas for the 2018 Mr. Olympia weekend. For Tyler Shore and Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.